Welcome back to Morning at NTV. My name is Romy Busiku. Government, through the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, has secured funding from the United Kingdom to develop infrastructure in the Kampala Industrial and Business Park. Now, to help us appreciate all this, we do have Joseph Chigundu, the Acting Director General at the Uganda Investment Authority, and also Nwajira Alex is the Project Manager at Kampala Industrial and Business Park. Both gentlemen join me right now in studio. Very good morning, Mr. Chigundu and Alex.
Good morning.
Good morning, listeners and viewers.
So what is expected from with the development of infrastructure within Kampala?
Thank you. Thank you, viewers out there. I'll start with what Uganda Investment Authority does. So Uganda Investment Authority is a government institution mandated to coordinate, promote, and encourage investments in the country. One of our focus areas is accelerating industrialization in the country through facilitating industrialization and providing service to land. So Kampala Industrial and Business Park was established by the government of Uganda to meet this mandate. So as we do the development of the infrastructure, the Kampala Industrial and Business Park shall first of all develop a network of roads, water, sewage systems. We'll also facilitate industrialists through internet service provisions, the fiber backbone. We'll also do power. We'll also do solar street lighting, security as well, and other amenities such as a police station and the rest.
Mr. Chigundu, broadly speaking, would you say that you've achieved all the project's targets over the last 5 years?
No, the straight answer is no, because as Alex has mentioned, much of the key infrastructure that is expected for the investors to ride on has not been in place over the years. So that's why this project is actually very key to us, because it's going to accelerate a lot of what we have not been doing in the past. Like he's talked about the road network and so on, and that's critical, the power infrastructure, water, and so on. So we expect that once this project is into implementation and things are starting to move, we expect a fast track and sort of recover the lost time. What
haven't you been able to work on in the last 5 years?
Practically everything that should be in a first-class park of that status. We have a road network, yes, but a lot of it is not tarmacked. It's not the high grade that you would expect. The water treatment, water and sewage treatment facilities are not yet up to the mark. We've done a lot about the power, but even the power infrastructure is not yet that stable and cannot handle the size of investment that we expect in the park. So this is quite critical, because as you can see, most of the main vertical drivers for industrialization are not yet at the level we expect.
And Alex and Chigun, we also know that this project was expected to employ some 2,000 people, and this was anticipated to rise to 400,000. Have you hit these targets?
Thank you. The employment rate is for the industrialists. Actually, once ours as Uganda Investment Authority is to facilitate these industrialists to set up factories. So at peak, the employment rate within the industrial park shall be 200,000 jobs. Currently, we are operating at about 25,000 because we have about 52 factories currently operating. At peak, which is 5 years from now, once the project is complete, we expect the park to be fully operational. We'll have about 500 industries operating in the park, employing about 200,000 Ugandans. Yes.
200,000 Ugandans, that's a big feat, I'm telling you.
Those are direct jobs.
Direct jobs.
But the potential for indirect jobs is much higher.
So what services will the park users have access to once all this is completed?
So once it is completed, like I mentioned earlier, so you'd have the road network. So currently, like he said, 17 kilometers out of the 42 are tarmacked. So once the project is complete, you'll have the 42-kilometer tarmac with sidewalks and beautification for industrialists and as well as users. You have a full water network. Currently, we are at 17 kilometers. So we'll upgrade that and also construct another about 20 kilometers of water network. You have the sewer system, where we'll have the waste treatment plant south of the park. We'll have a complete network. You'll have the 2,200-acre park with full CCTV under surveillance, and we'll build a police station that will monitor the security of the park. Basically, ICT as well. So you'll have a fully modern world-class park at the end of the 5 years.
About it.
Mr. Chigun, I'm looking at a taxpayer who is saying maybe we are spending too much money. Would like to know what is the correlation between spending all this money on these packs and improving the level of industrialization in Uganda? Is this money not wasted?
No, it's not, certainly not. This infrastructure is key to a park of that size. And for us, Naman, the KIDP is quite significant. It was our signature park. So getting it right is a ripple effect that goes up for this. A lot of learning. There is a lot of confidence building in the international investors that will be locating here. So certainly, if you look at what we are investing and what we expect to get out of this, I don't know whether you know that a lot of the taxes that are paid are actually paid by some of the few key investors that we even have in the park. So if you look at the likes of Coca-Cola and so on and so forth, and what their contribution is, the steel and tubes and so on, roofings. So you look at, you actually know the value of what investment in industrial parks means, because you'll see that a lot of the taxes are contributed by just a few people who have taken confidence in this park and actually moved ahead of it. So if we do this, do the others that will be coming up in a similar model, Ugandans will see something different. In terms
Kampala Industrial and Business Park project. Very compelling, I tell you. Now, Alex Nwajira, he is the project manager. I would like to know, talk to us about where and how this project is evolving across the country.
Thank you. Kampala Industrial and Business Park, like the Director General mentioned, is our flagship project at Uganda Investment Authority. It is located along the Kampala-Jinja Highway, about 11 kilometers out of town. It's a 2,200-acre park. But as Uganda Investment Authority, we have a number of parks spread across the country. Within the Kampala region, we have Boyogerere and Luzira. But when you move out of town or Kampala, you have Jinja, we have Mbale, we have Soroti. To the west, we have an SME park in Mbarara. And we plan to set up other industrial parks across the country. Yes, those are under plan.
Indeed. Mr. Chigundu, year after year, the Uganda Investment Authority projects growth in employment through new factories. Isn't that right? So at what level of industrialization do we need to reach to do away with all these joblessness that we are seeing?
Let's look at what 52 investors are doing. Just 52 in Namabe, employing over 25,000 people. If you just elevate that and say maybe if they go to 520, and you do maybe about 250,000, you can see that there's a factor of 10 that actually would do this. That's the direct jobs. Now that's just one park. Now you imagine across our network of 27 industry and business parks, some are science and technology. Others concentrate on mainly away from manufacturing and things like that, but to sort of develop technology and other services. So across our 27 parks, the jobs that certainly you're looking at creating over 1 million or plus direct jobs, which translates into, I don't know what the factor now would be, because for example, in telecoms, if you look at a company like maybe Airtel, employing about maybe 100 and something people directly, but they are employing over 300,000 people indirectly, like the people who do the distribution, who do up to the final store and so on. So there's quite a bit of expectation in terms of the indirect jobs that will come out of here, the distributors, the stockists, the final man at shops and so on. So yeah, we should be able to contribute quite much towards the...
Indeed. Alex Nwajira, what do you make of that? The fact that we've had a president since 1986 who would tell us, there will be creation of employment through new factories, but it's 2020 and we still see a high level of joblessness within Uganda. At what level do we need to really grow for us to see this joblessness reduce, Mr. Alex?
I'll build on from what Joseph was saying. So our mandate as Uganda Investment Authority, definitely as a government entity, is to accelerate industrialization, as we've been discussing. And one of the objectives of doing this is to ensure we reduce the levels of unemployment. Going by the figures that we have discussed with you, of course, looking at our population and its growth rate, we need to match the growth rate with the employment rate. So as government, we are mandated to put in place incentives or initiatives such as industrial parks that can employ the unemployed youth. The figures as they stand now, we anticipate to have about 200,000 jobs just in the Kampala Industrial Park. When we fully establish the 27 industrial parks across the country, we are looking at over 1 million jobs created, and that is in line with our strategic plan. Yes.
That's because this has been a case that has been going on at the highest levels of government. They've been so concerned. UIA coming up with projections that if we create more factories, joblessness will go down, but then that hasn't been the case. So going on from here, do you see the Uganda Investment Authority as helping or actually being that hindering the path to industrialization, and how? Starting with you, Chigund.
Certainly, we're not hindering.
I'm sure you won't shoot yourself in the leg.
Yes, but I think what has happened is something we alluded to in the beginning. I think we were slow to adopt this model of development. We've been funding this directly from our meager budget, and as Alex sort of hinted on, we have not done much because of funding.
Indeed.
But now, if this model works, and then you replicate it in Kasese, you do it in Jinja Industrial Park, you do it in Bali, and I mean you do it in Soroti, I think we are likely to we are likely to leapfrog this process and get to the desired levels of employment. Yes, I regret over the last few years it's been slow because it's been fully funded by government. But now where you can borrow and actually invest in critical infrastructure, we should be able to see this thing done.
Good news to know that the Uganda Investment Authority shall not be hindering the path to industrialization.
Certainly.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, for having made the time to speak to us right here in Morning at NTV. Looking forward to another conversation with you. All right, you're still watching Morning at NTV. Fast forward, we've been hearing talk about how the NRM doesn't have any support in the diaspora. Please, gentlemen, you can stay seated. You can stay seated. We are hearing talk about how the NRM, the National Resistance Movement Party, does not have any support in the diaspora. But then we do have so many people that want to contest that analogy. We do have Joka Zinduka. He is the National Treasurer, the NRM Diaspora, and he joins us right now from New York. A very good morning. It's morning right here, and it's more like 11 p.m. in the New York. How are you, Joka Zinduka?
I'm doing well, thank you. It's
all right.
11,
yes.
11:30 p.m. here.
Okay, help us debunk this myth that seems to contain that there is no NRM support within the diaspora. What do you have to say about that?
Well, before I answer your question, Collins,
Romeo.
first of all, I want to thank you for hosting me. And I want to wish your viewers and fellow Ugandans a happy and prosperous new year, 2021. And hopefully it will be a year of prosperity and a healthier year than the previous year. So I want also to use this opportunity to express condolences to all those who lost their loved ones, and hopefully we wish a quick recovery to those who are still battling the ravages of COVID-19. So now to address your question of NRM support in the diaspora, I think there is a false narrative, and I might add that that is a purposeful false narrative that the NRM or the government of Uganda does not enjoy full support of Ugandan expats in the diaspora. So I'm here to dispel that misconception and say that Ugandan community in the diaspora is not unlike the Ugandan community all over the country back home. We come from different corners of Uganda. We come from different professions and shades, and we have varied opinions about each and everything, just like the population in Uganda. So over here, some of us are enthusiastic supporters of NRM government, and I dare say at this time that we are the silent majority, and there are a few who may not be in favor or support the government. And that's their freedom. They have different parties, and that's the freedom that Uganda introduced, so that people can support whoever they choose. But it is a false narrative to say that Uganda NRM does not have support. Why wouldn't it? There's a very good reason to support the NRM and the programs and efforts and all the good things that have happened in the country.
Mr. Joka Zinduka, The biggest contestation right now among members of the public is that the NRM regime has facilitated the brain drain culture, where you have young people leaving the country to go and seek greener pastures from abroad. So it's under or against the background that many people believe that NRM might not be having the support that they are talking about within the diaspora, because many of the people that go abroad are disgruntled young people who are looking for greener pastures, who have not been aided by the regime within their own country and were forced to leave the country, and as that cannot support the NRM. What do you make of that?
Well, the United States, as other parts of the world, have people from all over the world, from all over Africa. And I don't think all those people come just because they don't support the countries back home where they come from. So indeed, there may be more opportunities here, but that's for some young people, but that's not tantamount to saying that they are disgruntled back home. I'm not disgruntled. I live in the United States. I just came back from Uganda about, I arrived here yesterday, but I'm not here because I'm a professional. I work here, earn a living, and remit money back to the country. So people are here for various reasons, the majority of whom are here to find work and what have you, but that's not the same thing as being disgruntled. There are few that may have such beliefs or may be as disgruntled as you describe them, but I wouldn't call those the majority of Ugandans. One just has to check the records of the airline records or the airports, how many people come every year back home to visit their families. Certainly disgruntled people will not be coming back to Uganda. They'll just stay here.
Yes, Mr. Joko Zinduka, how has the COVID-19 pandemic disorganized your mobilization efforts abroad to rally support for the president, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni?
So I understand your question to say how has the COVID situation hampered?
Disrupted the whole mobilization process to rally support for the president abroad?
Oh, no, that has not affected it. It's true that the COVID-19 situation is a very serious one, and I want to give you some context here. The United States has a population of about 330 million people. The COVID cases, positive cases, to date, are about 22, 23 million people, which represents about 6.8% of the entire population. Just to put it in context, the entire world cases reported so far is about 90 plus. And of those, United States has registered about 25% of the entire world cases. Why am I saying this? Uganda, which has a population of about 44 million people, has registered about 37.7 thousand people, which is minuscule. It's a big number to be sure, because one person is too many people. But the reason that is in the beginning, it takes good leadership. In the beginning, Uganda's leadership took some firm steps to make sure that they reduce the onslaught of COVID-19, and people were compliant then. But as time went on, the campaigns started. People started doing their own thing, and I told you I just came back from Uganda, and I see a lot of people who are just going about without really respecting the SOPs, and some political leaders who are not encouraging people to do so. But our candidate, our flag bearer, President Yoweri Museveni, is practicing the SOPs. Is very, very strict with he has not been addressing political rallies per se, holding political rallies, just holding selected meetings. So talk about leadership. leadership and the qualities of leadership. There, Ugandans can see for themselves who has the interests of Ugandans at heart, who will protect them, who will make sure that all the SOPs or the laws are followed and the restrictions are in place to safeguard the Ugandans. So we use that to mobilize Ugandans here and say we have good leadership that is there to protect people back home, to protect our fellow citizens. And that does not happen out of a vacuum. It takes good leadership, strong leadership, and that's what the president has been doing. So it makes it easier.
Leadership. But then we are getting information from the U.S. ambassador to Uganda, that is Natalie E. Brown. She's concerned about the shrinking civic space within Uganda that is being propagated by the NRM regime. We've seen civil society organizations whose bank accounts have been frozen, opposition political candidates, especially those who are on the presidential campaign trails, being stopped in their tracks from continuing with their constitutional mandate. And the members of the NRM worried about violence erupting before, during, and after the elections. Members of the NRM in the diaspora, that is.
Well, I wouldn't say that all of us are worried. There are some who are worried, and they should be, because if there is disruption occasioned by some political players, obviously there will be the security forces will be out to make sure that Ugandans are protected, and in the process, those who perpetrate the problems, those who the violence, and if they have supporters here or elsewhere, they'll be affected. But overall, I don't have the same concerns, because I know that Uganda government has institutions. The security forces are prepared to deal with any uprising, any violence, and no amount of propaganda, no amount of misinformation is going to take away from the preparations that the government has made to deal with any eventuality, any insecurity, any violence. So those of us who are familiar with the efforts of government, those of us who are familiar with the preparedness of the security forces, I was watching the news and the press conference before I left Uganda yesterday or the day before. The security forces were there to just let the people know that Uganda is prepared, the security forces are prepared to safeguard them and their property. And so really, if I had a chance to speak with the American ambassador, I would let her know that there is no cause for alarm, and that Uganda is prepared to deal with, to make sure that Ugandans are protected.
Jokas indicates, like you're saying, you're not concerned about the shrinking civic space in Uganda.
I don't know if there is. Can you tell me what examples of shrinking civic space in Uganda? Because I just came back
Civil
from
society
Uganda.
organizations have had their bank accounts frozen, meaning they cannot go ahead with civic education, voter education awareness, and so forth. Such activities have been put on hold simply because they do not have money after their bank accounts were frozen.
So in order for me to fully comment on that, I would have to know the background. I would have to know the reasons. Just because you are a civic organization does not mean that you do not obey the laws of that are in place, that you do not follow the proper procedures. So as I'm not saying that that should be the case, that the civic organization should be curtailed, I need to know the reasons why they are, what you are saying to me, if it's true at all, because I'm not so sure that that's, I don't have firsthand evidence that that's the case. But if that is the case, if that their accounts are frozen, I need to understand the reason for why they are frozen before I can go around telling people that everything is bad and civic organizations are all curtailed. I need to have that. What are the reasons that have been put forth why they are frozen? Can
Well,
you share
they're
with me?
accused of funding terrorism activities within Uganda.
Oh,
Funding,
no,
so,
if they are
yes.
doing that, then I can understand. Is that the case?
They're accused of funding terrorism activities, but they deny all this.
Well, I'm sure there are systems in the country that can look into that if they are falsely accused or if they are there should be systems to investigate and to make sure that if these are false allegations, I certainly would hope that they would make their case and
All
that
right.
the government would not cavalierly just
All right,
freeze the
Joe,
accounts without any.
Joe Kazinduka, before I let you go, what plans or cards do you have up your sleeve to ensure President Museveni's victory on Thursday this week?
Just to encourage those people that are going to vote that they have to look at the track record of the current government, of the current leadership. Is a proven leader, and they can look at the development that has been taking place or the changes that have, positive changes that have happened since NRM came to power, and vote the right way. For us here in the diaspora, some of us, our role is to tell the correct story and not continue with the negative narrative that has been perpetuated over the years. And don't take what you see on YouTube, a few demonstrations here and there and a few loud noises and think that that's the majority that represents the people in the diaspora. For us, we have no reason to be jumping up and down and demonstrating because we know the proper channels when there is a problem to channel that. I think that once the people of Uganda make a decision on the 14th, they will vote correctly, they will vote wisely, and elect the members of parliament that are going to help the president to carry on with the development program and secure their future.
Well, thank you very much, Joe Kazinduka. Many thanks for that short-lived interview, and wish you all the best, sir. Well, with a few days left to the election, that is Thursday, January 14th. Yes, January 14th. That's when we are going to be electing our next president. We've had only one president since 1986. That's the incumbent President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. So 17.6 million voters. Like I said, you have more women. Yes, 9 million, and lesser men, who are only 8 million plus. So if so many of these women shy away from the polls because of the violence or anticipated violence, we might end up with a low voter turnout, with only men showing up for these elections. My name is Romeo Busiku. Why don't we take a breather and return with the latest in the world of sport with Elvis Senono. He's already here.